Morning, everybody. Welcome to Elevenses with the reps at Diesel Bookstore. Our little bit of fun we have every Wednesday morning when we get together with our fabulous publishers representatives and our booksellers, and we talk about all the great new books that our professionals want you to know about, and your list will expand. You will find books you want to read, and we post links to all of the books we're going to talk about today in the little chat area there, so that after you've finished watching, you can go back and order. We like to make it easy for you. And we have two of our most wonderful reps with us today. I'm very excited because these guys just read from their stacks all day long. And I'm going to introduce them in a second. But first, I do want to tell you what's going on at the actual bookstore over the course of the next week, because we do have a bunch of exciting events coming up. We have tomorrow, which is February 12th at 6:30 p.m. Christopher Farnsworth is going to be discussing and signing Robert B. Parker's Big Shot. So that's a Jesse Stone novel, and that is happening tomorrow, February 12th at 6:30. And then Sunday, which is the 15th, day after Valentine's Day, at 3 p.m. to decompress from Valentine's Day, we've got Peter Allen Lesser discussing and signing live at McCabe's Guitar Shop, Santa Monica's legendary music venue. That is really going to be fun. That Sunday at 3 p.m., Peter Allen Lesser. And then on Tuesday, the 17th, that's next Tuesday, Mary Kubica will be at the store with Kaira Rouda, and she will be discussing and signing her new book, It's Not Her. So that is going to be 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday at Diesel. So we do have all of our events listed on our website, www.dieselbookstore.com. You can go ahead and see what's coming up. We've got some great events coming up the rest of this month and March. All right. Let me introduce our reps today, and then we're going to get going, and they're going to do the talking. So joining us today, we have Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books, and we have Tom Benton from Penguin. Okay, so normally we have more reps, and we have booksellers, but these two guys are going to do it today. We don't need anything further. No, we do not.
We got you.
Yeah. Dave, why don't you start off?
You got it. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks for having me today, Deborah and Diesel. I'm going to jump right in with the release of Citrus Illustrated. This comes to us from the publisher I work for, Chronicle Books, and this is the third in a beautiful little series. We have done Cheese Illustrated before, and the other one, I am blanking for a minute, Pickles Illustrated. That was last year. These are little bite-sized books. This has 35 sweet and savory recipes that go far beyond just oranges, lemons, and limes. From the ubiquitous navel orange to the lesser-known Fukushu kumquat to the straight-up funky Buddha's hand citron. Citrus comes in many forms. I don't know if you've ever seen a Buddha's hand. I did some research last night. You maybe have actually used the rind or the juice from it. Not a very pulpy, not a very flesh filled, but it's mostly used. It's very sweet and it has a sweet rind. So this really dives deep and does some fascinating citrus kind of recipes you've never heard of. It is illustrated throughout. It's very beautiful. It's super gifty. There are no photographs of the recipes, like it tells you in the title. Spoiler alert. Illustrated. So these are beautiful little paintings of different citruses, different obscuro kinds of citruses, and then all these kind of remarkable recipes through. This tells you how to select the citrus, wash, clean, and store it, and then also how to use things like the pith or to zest them for extra kind of flavor boosts. You can make a mojito tea cake with a rum glaze, pink grapefruit and tomato salsa for one of the kind of savory recipes. The Buddha's hand, which I talked about earlier, you should look this up if you don't know what it is. It's a really funky, it's like a lemon with tentacles is how I can describe it. Yeah, yeah. It has these little fingers that come off, mostly used by being zested, not so much like a juice-heavy piece of citrus. Kumquat and pineapple chutney, tart lemon curd, and so many more. This comes to us from a gentleman based in LA named George Geary. He has been a food decorator and designer for the Walt Disney Company for many years. He was an award-winning pastry chef for them for 10 years. This is a weird factoid. He also created the cheesecakes on the Golden Girls. So a little TV connection there, if you know what I'm talking about. It's just a sweet little book. I think this series and these little books make for really great hostess gifts. Something you can bring to a party with a bag of wonderful citrus fruits. You can give somebody like a fancy zester or a juicer. Plus this book, plus some obscure kinds of citruses they've never used. They can jump right in and start making these really cool recipes. So just a very sweet little 1995 hardcover food book for you today.
I love this book, as you know, Dave. I was super excited as soon as I got my hands on it. I love that. I mean, if you're in Southern California over here, it's just there's so much citrus. We have lemon trees, orange trees, and an abundant. I mean, you can make a lot of lemonade, but then and then what?
There's a lemonade
Um,
recipe in this.
yeah, yeah. But there's so many great. It's such a. I love the little size of it. It's so
Yeah,
handy. It's just a
50.
lot of great recipes, ideas. A lot of these kind of single ingredient type books are just great for getting new ideas for an ingredient that you have a lot of, and that's kind of around a lot. And
Yeah,
but Buddha's hand. The first time I saw Buddha's hand, I was like, "What is this thing?" It looks like an undersea thing with, a weird lemon that got mutated or
right.
something. But it's really
Monster
it's
lemon.
mild and kind of a little bit sweet. It's still citrusy. But I just didn't know what to do with it when I was like, I have to buy this and like figure it
Yeah.
out.
I guess it's good to
But
do,
then
you can candy the peel because it's unlike the pith of a lemon, I guess it's sweet and not bitter.
yeah, except it doesn't like the peel doesn't come off like it's not as easy to do. But you put it in dishes. Anyway, this book will tell you. It's a great little
Right.
book. I love it.
Awesome.
Great start. Thanks, Dave. Tom Benton, we haven't seen you for so long.
Been too long, so I'm happy to be back. Should I tell you about my first book? I will. It's
Why
called,
not?
might as well. It's called Everyday Movement by Gigi Leung. And so this is a novel set in Hong Kong, and it really, I think, will be seen as the definitive book about a moment in time in 2019, really the end of democracy in Hong Kong. So this book is it's set just at that moment in 2019. You are immediately thrust into the world of two young 20-something women who are protesting, and then they're watching what's happening to their country, and they are protesting, and then they find themselves tear gassed, chased. That's the opening of the book. But then the book proceeds to show how do people live in a society that is doing this to its own people, that is, breaking down in this way, because in so many ways life goes on, and you see that in the lives of these young women. And everyone reacts differently. Some become more militant, others become shrink and go back to their the consumerism that is around us, all around them and us all the time. So it's a book that captures the turmoil, the heartbreak, all of that stuff when faced with this overwhelming reality. So it's an excellent, really, really excellent novel about this time and place. And it's part of Riverhead. So this is published by Riverhead. This is the second book of their initiative to find Chinese books and translate Chinese literature into English and bring them to an American audience. They have an editor devoted just to that, because it's very difficult to find these books. and then get them translated. We see, European translations all the time of every conceivable language, but it's really not true from China. And in this case, Hong Kong. So this is a writer who she's originally from Hong Kong, but now she's in Taiwan for obvious reasons. The book was banned at the Hong Kong Book Fair, and then celebrated in Taiwan. So weirdly enough, a year and a half ago, I found myself at they were called the Golden Tripod Awards in Taipei. And this book won the award for Best Novel. Though at that time, I did not know anything. I barely understood anything happening around me. But it's so weird to now, a year and a half later, Riverhead is publishing this book that I was briefly exposed to in Taiwan. So it's kind of bizarre, surreal, really. So early reviews are fantastic. Kirkus says, a cinematic, sympathetic view of the personal costs of political conflict, many of which will be frighteningly familiar. The frighteningly familiar part is because this is being published at a time when we can all relate to what is happening in the most visceral of ways. We have great quotes. Elif Batuman, one of my favorite young writers. I loved Everyday Movement, a dazzling page-turning novel, gripping, specific, important, and highly satisfying. And then Megha Majumdar says, the question raised by this novel is no smaller than what is the right way to live. This is a novel that dares to confront the borders between everyday behavior and ethical self. So highly recommend this novel. And that is what I love the title, Everyday Movement, because we all have to have this everyday movement in the face of these larger forces. And how do we navigate that? That's what the novel explores. So that's Everyday Movement.
I feel like, first of all, that cover is amazing. That is like incredible cover. But also I feel like it's very disorienting to be living through this kind of history. When you look in the past and you see the things that have happened, and you're like, yes, and you're always living through history. You're making history all the time, periods of time. But like, when you're in a vortex of a certain kind of thing that if the planet survives, like, it's definitely going to be its own book. It's very disorienting, and I think so in a way it's the perfect time. It's unfortunately the perfect time.
Unfortunately, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the perfect time, but it's the perfect time.
And also it's important we need models. We need to, so unfortunately, we can look to a place like Hong Kong and see how it can work.
Yeah.
Or not work.
Important book. Thank you, Tom. All right, back to you, Dave.
Okay, thank you. All right, my second title today comes to us from Lawrence King Publishing, one of our fantastic imprints at Chronicle, and it is The World of Black Film from Ashley Clark. This has just been released. I think it's coming out this week or next. And it's just a fantastic encyclopedic, but like in a really nice little compact size film book celebrating pretty much like a century of Black film and Black filmmakers. It's very informed, entertaining, and thought-provoking. This starts out with a film called Lime Kiln Club Field Day from 1913, made by Black filmmakers, and goes all the way up to Steve McQueen, not the actor, but the director, Steve McQueen's World War II epic Blitz, which is from 2024. So absolutely just decades and decades of incredible Black creators, filmmakers, actors, and film people. I've been asked a few times why isn't Centers in this book. That's like an absolute milestone in Black filmmaking. The book was pretty much done by the time Centers was coming out and kind of hitting the world and making a huge impact as it's made. And we're going to see the impact it makes when we get to the Oscars in a few weeks. So what I love about this book is the span of it. The cover image comes from a film called a Senegalese French film called Black Girl from 1966. If you have the Criterion Channel, this film from the cover is on the Criterion Channel, as are many of these films. Author Ashley Clark has been the curatorial director for the Criterion Collection since 2020. So for about the past 6 years, he has been responsible for the films they bring in and the films they showcase through the channel. And what is really cool is that this shines a light on many filmmakers that, even I'm a total film buff, and a lot of these filmmakers are new to me, and a lot of this history is new to me, which is really exciting as somebody that likes learning about film and film history. It goes back into the 20s with Oscar Michaud, a film called Within Our Gates. It goes into the 60s. There's a film that's on the Criterion Channel called, this is a mouthful, Symbiopsychotaxiplasm. It's an experimental film by an American Black filmmaker named William Greaves. It's an experimental documentary. You get stills from the films, some behind the scenes looks at the films. Sometimes the posters are featured. There's even kind of mainstream stuff that we're all going to know or have a knowledge of, like Shaft from 1971, which kind of wasn't the first blaxploitation film, but definitely kickstarted the movement and is kind of like the key, I think, one of the key films of that movement. The amazing mid-70s Sun Ra documentary, Space is the Place. If you have not seen this, you have to see it. It is mind-bending. Sun Ra is such a trip and remarkable. It's a really cool documentary. Even up to, of course, modern-day icons of Black filmmaking like Spike Lee, who is featured prominently throughout the book. This is, of course, Malcolm X from the early 90s. We go into, this is really crazy, I have to mention. There's a huge film industry called Nollywood, which is the Nigerian film industry. A lot of total DIY filmmakers. There is a film from 2010 featured in here called Who Killed Captain Alex? The filmmaker claims that the film cost $85 to make, which blows my mind, which I just I love that because I don't think films need to cost $300 million. I think they should cut corners and do things economically. I think it's shot on video. Cinefamily was a film theater in LA for a few years, and I remember they did a whole festival of these Nollywood films, and I think Who Killed Captain Alex was part of that. Of course, Get Out, we've all seen it, we all know it, the amazing work of Jordan Peele. So I think, and of course, Black Panther. So Ryan Coogler is featured in this book, Simply Not for Sinners. So it's basically like a film, every 2-page spread with images, a really concise but very authoritative write-up. I just think this belongs in every bookstore with a film section. And these are all filmmakers that we should be learning about, exploring their movies. Again, if you have something like Canopy, that service, streaming service, if you have the Criterion Channel, you can access a lot of these remarkable Black filmmakers through history. So really cool. Hardcover book and store now.
I love this book. I can think of so many people I want to give this book as a gift, but I would like to give it to myself first because I don't have it and I need it. And you always, I'm always want to, every book that you talk about, Dave, that I haven't yet read, I'm like, I need that right now. I need to look through it. How exciting. What a great book. And really accessible. All of your I have a bunch of your other film books that Chronicle does, and they're all really accessible, packed with information and fun, and like you can just browse, you can read straight through. I love a book like that.
Yeah, it's a great dip in and out book. You can kind of open to any spread and learn about someone new. And then it's like a roadmap to expanding your film knowledge, which is always a good thing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dave. All right, Tom.
All right. So my next book is called Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. And I am the Penguin adult sales rep, but I'm also, I feel like, the Matt Dinniman exclusive sales rep, because for the last year and a half, I have been learning about Matt Dinniman slowly but surely, and then almost exclusively talking about him in every store I visit. There's a conversation that comes up about Matt. So this is the brand new book. So what sets this, I can't remember what I've said, but the backstory is Dungeon Crawler Carl. He's the creator of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, which has 7 books out in the series. They began as a project that he did exclusively online and on audio, and he has a Patreon, and he found his audience there, and he would sell hundreds of thousands of copies in these two formats, but never a physical book, until publishers came to him and said, what would you think about doing some hardcovers and paperbacks? And at first he was like, I'm not interested. I don't understand your business, and I'm doing just fine. Why would I need to do this? But they persuaded him. And then sure enough, it's like these are completely different worlds that don't necessarily, they interact, but they also don't interact. So we have now sold hundreds of thousands of copies of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series in bookstores all across the country. And what sets the new book apart, which just went on sale yesterday, is this is the first. First of all, it's not in the series; it's a standalone. But also, it's the first book of Matt's that is traditionally published. So it hasn't been available on audio, has not been available online to anyone. So and he worked with an editor at Berkeley. So it's a whole new world for us and for him. And I think for readers who have been curious about this, you might have friends who say, I love this series, you should read it. But maybe the idea of reading 1,000, well, each book is probably 600 to 800 pages. So there's 7 of them. Although from every fan has told me, once you begin, you can't stop. But maybe that's too much for you to start with. Start with this book. This gives you the flavor of a Matt Dinniman. So in this book, it's about a colony on another planet, New Sonora, who I won't go into all the details, but they are under siege from the corporations on planet Earth. And so it's about this ragtag group of settlers who are defending themselves. Gaming plays a role in all of the books. Operation Bounce House is a game that they're find themselves part of all of a sudden. But when there was a big New York Times piece about Matt in December, and he talked about how this has been a really interesting experience for him, because he's used to getting feedback, like chapter by chapter feedback from his fans, I guess, on Patreon. Like as they go through as he writes the book, he gets feedback. Well, he's getting feedback from an editor, but it's a whole different thing for him. And as he said, I'm terrified because it's a really important book. I need to show people that I can write stuff that's not Dungeon Crawler Carl. So he's definitely done that. Kirkus has the perfect description. When a bunch of corporate assholes mark their planet for destruction, a garage band of colonists must defend their home world with the power of rock. A disarmingly heartfelt space adventure that dares to suggest genocide might be a bad business. So that's Operation Bounce House from Matt Dinniman.
You've done such an amazing job, Tom, with because I remember when if you knew, you knew, but if you didn't, Tom told you. That's Tom would tell you. And for those who follow us and our Diesel folk know that we had a wonderful event with Matt Dinniman, and and it was just fantastic. It was a really enthusiastic crowd of people. He was great, tireless, indefatigable, and just it's just a phenomenon that broke out. And I remember when you were first talking about it, you were like, I don't know what this is.
Exactly. I've gone from not knowing what this is to knowing a lot about what this is.
Yeah.
And Diesel has been one of the earliest, Joey in particular, has been a big supporter. Like they helped me understand it, the booksellers at Diesel and other stores, before the publisher did.
Yes, but they wouldn't have known about it without you, Tom. So, that's how we do over here. Anyway, this is very exciting, and great reviews already, and it's going to be another banger for sure. And it's a great story. It's one of those great publishing stories that you really.
I know. I can't get enough of the publishing part of it, because it
defies
all the rules, but that's great.
the rules change.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Tom. Dave, back to you.
Okay. My third selection today comes to us from Hardy Grant Publishing. Hardy Grant Explore is their travel sub-imprint at Hardy Grant. And this book is the very beautiful and highly useful Tokyo Story, an insider's guide to exploring Tokyo. This comes to us from two authors that are Australian. They're based in Melbourne, Steve Wide and Michelle McIntosh. They first traveled to Tokyo in the 90s for their honeymoon. That was their initial voyage and initial trip. They fell so deeply in love with Tokyo that they have returned over 65 times since then. They live there part-time now, and they try to spend at least 2 to 3 solid months a year in Tokyo as part-time residents. So they know the city inside and out. They have explored every nook and cranny, every laneway, every byway, and they've worked with a lot of locals and people that know the city. Obviously, Tokyo is the main hub for incoming visitors. There were 33.4 million visitors to Tokyo in 2024. So I think that it's time for a guidebook that's written by not somebody that is there full time, but somebody that knows the city kind of backwards and forwards. And again, you work with locals and you find these things that are off the beaten track. I don't want to name other travel book publishers, but this goes beyond the typical Tokyo travel book. So basically, it's split into different sections. You can explore food culture. You can explore late night culture. There are art happenings to find out. There's a huge section on shopping. There's a huge vintage shopping scene in Tokyo, vintage clothing stores, vintage pop culture, ephemeral type of stores. They tell you everywhere to go for the kind of craziest and most interesting souvenirs. Different department stores throughout Tokyo that you should check out. Just the food coverage in here is remarkable. There are just beautiful graphics, really very easy to use. It's not really necessarily pocket-sized, but I think you could take this in a backpack. It's like a pretty good, paperback size. And that is it. Tokyo is a city where kind of the old classical Edo period of Tokyo collides with like the brand new kind of neon drenched fashion districts. So, a simple train ride away, you can go from absolute modernity in a big city, bustling kind of urban environment to getting into the more kind of areas with nature and the more kind of classical and ancient parts of Tokyo and Japan. So it's a city of contrasts. It's a city that you really need somebody to help you kind of navigate and find all the insider spots. And this is just a really, really fantastic travel guide. Trying to plan a trip there, hopefully this year, if not next. And this will definitely be like just a prime resource to finding these kind of remarkable spots. And just seems like a really fun guidebook to use.
There's a lot of competition with, but travel books have really, the last few years, they're constantly kind of evolving, but you had basically, it was your guides, and then they're sort of broke down guides to like 10 best or, 50 places or whatever. But then you started seeing a lot of competition in books trying to kind of look at, to look at it, to kind of make it more organic of an experience, discovering places, especially places that are popular tourist destinations. And this, you've done a bunch of really great, that looking at it from a slightly different angle and, give you a lot more useful feedback, I think, instead of like sort of the blur of like, this is the same 10 places over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, a lot of fun, I think. Thank you, Dave.
Cool.
Tom?
Yes. So my next book is called This Book Made Me Think of You by Libby Page. So this comes to us like Dungeon Crawler Carl from Berkeley, one of the imprints I sell. And this is for all of us, all the book lovers, which is all of us. When I tell you the story, it's such a, high concept, great idea. So it's about, I think she's an editor. The main character is an editor in England, in London. And she's in a reading slump because she's lost her husband like 6 months ago and can't find the right book, which is unusual for her. And then she gets a call just after Christmas from a local London bookstore, bookseller, and to say that he has a book for her from her husband. And she says, that's impossible because my husband passed away 6 months ago. And he says, no, I think you need to come to the store. So her husband, before he died, had arranged for a book a month to come to her from the bookstore to help her deal with her loss and her grief. And so the book is about all those things. It's about losing someone, but how the power of books to get you through. It's of course filled with, I think there's over 70 books that are recommended throughout the book. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know. But anyone who loves the world we all live in, this book is totally irresistible. Each chapter or each section, each month opens with a selection of book recommendations. So for May, actually, I don't know any of these books. The Curse of the Boyfriend Sweater, Essays on Crafting. So you'll find books but many books you don't as well. So this is just, it's like the perfect idea. We've already sold out of the first printing. We're reprinting as fast as we can. And I have a feeling this is going to be a book that, sells all the way through the year just because it's this kind of book. And I really think the reader is the Matt Haig reader because it's approachable, it's uplifting, it's honest about, it's very sincere about the feelings that run through it, just as a Matt Haig novel is. It will make you sad, but in the end, it will make you feel hopeful. And some days that's what I'm looking for. So Libby Page's This Book Made Me Think of You.
Very cathartic, I
Yeah.
think. And you're absolutely right about the Matt Haig, I think, is absolutely the reader. And that is that is a reader who is really open to, but in like discovery in that sort of vein. But this is like complete catnip for bookies everywhere, So it's going to be really, I think it's going to just definitely keep going.
Yeah, it's going to be
a great idea. Yeah, such a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. All right, well, we have a bonus round today. Very exciting. And Dave, you've got a really fun bonus book for us.
I do have a fun bonus book for you. I'm not able to hold it up because I am on the road and traveling, but I have sent Joey the cover image to pull up. And this is a middle grade reader novel that came out from Levine Quirdo. Levine Quirdo is a fantastic children's imprint. They do picture books, they do middle grade reader books, they do YA novels. I like to call them, this is another film reference coming to you today, but I like to call them the A24 of Chronicle books because they are like the film studio A24 in that they bring these like amazing authors to light, really diverse authors. They are like our super cool indie, if we had an analog of this super cool indie film company that brings these like really critically acclaimed and really unusual and really diverse voices to light. So the book is The Teacher of Nomadland. This comes to us from Daniel Nayeri. And the exciting thing is that it just won the Newbery Honor Book Award. Levine Quirdo swept the ALA Youth Awards at the end of January. They had 9 books that won awards, which was absolutely remarkable. And to me, this is kind of the key title in the last couple of years that they've put out. You may know Daniel from his debut novel was Everything Bad is Untrue. That came out a few years ago. His second book was Samir, The Many Assassinations of Samir, the Seller of Dreams. He is born in Iran. He came to America as a child, as a refugee, and settled in Oklahoma. So that's what the first book, Everything Sad is Untrue, about. Teacher of Nomadland is a World War II historical book. And I'm just going to read you a quick little blurb here about the award and the honor. It was named the Newbery Honor Book at the awards. This is the fourth time the Newbery Committee have recognized one of Levine Quirdo's titles. This follows a Newbery Medal for Donna Barba Higuera's The Last Quintista in 2022. Something that a lot of stores that sell YA and kids books know. That book was a big hit. And also Newbery Honors for Darcy Little Badger's A Snake Falls to Earth in 2022. And also Daniel Naeri's, like I mentioned, Many Assassinations of Samir the Seller. He won that award in 2024. And this is just a really beautiful and heartfelt story. I love this New York Times review. It's about two orphans that are in Iran during the occupation in 1941. So on one side, if I can find this here, German armies are storming across Europe. Iran is a neutral country. So on one side, you have British forces. On the other side, you've got Soviet forces. Two recently orphaned children, Babak and his little sister, have lost their father. So they devise a plan to survive. Babak will take up his father's old job as a teacher to the nomads. With a chalkboard strapped to his back and a satchel full of textbooks, he and his little sister set off to find the nomad tribes as they make a yearly trek across the mountains of Iran. They meet a Jewish boy on the journey, and he's hiding from a Nazi spy. And then suddenly all three of them are in a heart-pounding race for survival. So it is a fascinating perspective. You don't have many stories about the role of Iran in World War II. It's a heartfelt story about these orphans trying to survive and befriending this Jewish boy. So beyond the Newbery Honor Award, Daniel's also won the Prince Medal. He is just absolutely critically acclaimed and beloved. These three books have just been amazing feathers in our cap at Chronicle and our YA and middle book reader publishing programs. He's an amazing author with just a beautiful way of writing and a really affecting voice. We're really proud of him. And if you get a chance, just search for ALA Youth Awards and you can kind of see the full list of all of Levine Quirdo's winners. But I just want to call this one out. I'm sure you've got this in the store right now. And this book has just been going strong, and it will continue to receive more love and more acclaim and awards.
I love it as a bookseller, and we've talked about this quite often, actually, on Elevenses, about how this particular age group, they're quite discriminating readers at this age. They're sort of the middle reader, and there's a lot of opportunity there for authors to capture this audience, which they're just starting to make decisions on their own about what books they want to read, while still having a bit of parental kind of supervision, but they're making their own choices and really taking charge of their reading, and they've got like amazing opinions. I've had some of the most fantastic conversations with readers in this age group about how they feel about character and plot and what they're looking for, and I just think this is a wonderful it appeal to, it's not girl coded or boy coded, which a lot of them are. It's for all readers, and has so much appeal on for all of them. So fantastic book. Thank you, Dave. All right, Tom, let's wrap it up for the day. It's been a really great day. Yeah.
I will. So this book is coming out next week, and I won't be here next week, so I wanted to talk about it today. And it's a book everyone will hear about. It's called A Hymn to Life by Gisèle Pelicot. So I'll tell you the story, but you may already know the story. It's become an international story. So it was 2020. She was brought into the police station in a small town in France, and her husband had been arrested. And on his phone, they found evidence that he had assaulted her, drugged her, and assaulted. So they showed her video of herself being assaulted over and over again. And he had drugged her, and he had invited other men. I think 50 men in town had come. And also sexually assaulted her. So that's the basic story. But what makes the story, even more incredible is that in 2024, when she could have waived her right, when she could have been, and probably in most cases would have been, an anonymous trial without the public knowing what had happened. She waived her right to anonymity in order to, as she says, as the subtitle, that's something, shame has to change sides, which is what she said in court. And that has become, kind of a rallying cry around her story. So this is coming from Penguin Press in America. In England, it's The Bodley Head. In Canada, it's Knopf Canada. All publishing next Tuesday on the same day, which rarely seems like it rarely happens these days. It used to be more like, I feel like that used to happen more often, an international publication date, but that's next Tuesday. So I've only read the first 2 chapters, which is all that has been available. Very, clear, honest account from what I read of what happened to her and the story that she wants to tell about it. But slowly but surely over the course of this week and the weekend, you will start to hear more of the story as she tells it. She is doing an amazing number of interviews. It'll open on Saturday with New York Times has a podcast. It's part of the magazine also, and a video podcast, I think, called The Interview, which I highly recommend. If you haven't listened to The Interview, it's Lulu Garcia Navarro and David Marchese interview one person each week, and they are tremendous interviews. So we'll see that so she's the first interview. They've released little clips of it. So that's the first word that everyone will have. Then there'll be CBS Sunday Morning. Rachel Aviv in the New Yorker is doing a profile that'll be early next week, and then everything else will follow. But sometimes it's just one of those books that, we are lucky to bring out into the world that change the world in a certain way, that make a difference. This is definitely one of those books. We also announced this week, they didn't let us know in advance, that Emma Thompson is reading the audio, which obviously will be has to be an amazing audio. And in her video in the announcement of her having recorded the audio, she says, extraordinary purpose can come out of extraordinary suffering. And I love that. That's really what the book is about. So on sale next Tuesday, Madame Pelicot's A Hymn to Life.
I've been waiting for this book. It's been hearing about it for a bit and waiting for it, and it's going to be such a tough book, but a really important book, I think. And the title of it, Shame Has to Switch Sides, is I just think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
And because that really is it. That's
Yes.
the core there.
Yes.
And that's she's been like this the whole way through this like almost unimaginably horrendous experience, and she hasn't let up. She's
Right.
really,
She hasn't wavered at all.
which is incredible. So I think it'll probably be a book that'll be difficult for a lot of people, but I think another really important book. So
Absolutely.
I've been waiting for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm anxious for it to be out in the world, and also to hear her. I mean, it's one thing to go through the trial, then to write a book about it, and then now to talk about it around the world. That takes such bravery. I mean,
just the details of the story are hard to relate.
Yeah, I hate. When I was telling it, I would hope that the buyer would already know the details, so I wouldn't have to tell.
Yeah. It's an incredible amount of courage. Incredible. Well, that is a very powerful ending to a day with a lot of incredible books. I'm so grateful to the two of you for really for bringing it always, and especially today. Of course, I have added to my list once again. I did not think it was possible. So thank you so much, Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books and Tom Benton from Penguin. And I also would like to thank Joey, who we've referred to several times throughout the podcast, who was behind the scenes, behind the man behind the curtain, posting all of the links and putting up all of the beautiful covers and everything. Thank you, Joey. occasionally Joey will pop out and you will see him and he will talk. He does exist. We will be back again next week. We will have more reps. We will have more books. We will have many more rabbit holes to go down. So I hope that you will all come back and join us again next week. And until then, thank you again to our reps. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And we will see you next week. Happy reading, everyone.